Everybody. Welcome to our third wine tasting. Um, we've been having a good time drinking some pretty good wine, and we just decided we're going to keep rolling with it. So I hope you guys can join us, leave comments about the wine and your experience, and, we'll just keep doing it. This is
Absolutely.
mostly for us, right? It's mostly for us because we're stuck at home and we want to drink wine and hang out with each other.
Right. And have you
Basically.
heard, you guys have heard the whole thing where quarantine rules are the same as airplane rules, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. Nobody knows what time it is, and it doesn't matter. Drink whenever you want.
It's not just for weekends.
It's apropos because Brits is 2 hours behind Segi and I, so it's we'll say mid-afternoon where he is.
Mid-afternoon, but
We're just tasting though, just
Yeah.
having a sip, a sip. So this wine right here is a Daou Cabernet Sauvignon from Paso Robles. It is of the 2018 vintage, and the vintage just means the year of the wine. So this is a very young wine. I opened up mine about an hour, a little over an hour ago, just to let it breathe a little bit, get some oxygen into the wine, open up the flavors. And we mentioned this on the last one with the Pinot. We wanted to kind of do a lot of different types of wines, not just in the variety of the grape, but also price points. So this is another wine you can find at your grocery store. I got this at Kroger. I think it was like $24, $25. And we wanted to find wines that are for everyone's budget and a good wine to just have on hand when friends come over and people want to hang out, open up a bottle of wine. This is a perfect one to do. It's, relatively inexpensive. Obviously there are cheaper wines, but this is, $25 for a really quality wine out of Paso Robles, California. And the quick backstory on this one specifically, several weeks ago before the quarantine, my wife and I were out at a restaurant called Testabara here in Michigan. And they are an Italian restaurant, and they're really into wines, and they've got a sommelier who's great. And they always host these different wine dinners. They've had the Wagner family in to talk about their Caymus wines. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Caymus. And they've had Isaiah Thomas in, the basketball player and Indiana Hoosier.
Hoosier.
Yeah, he came in to talk about his champagne that he has now. He bought a champagne house in Champagne, France. And in a couple of weeks, they were supposed to have an event with Master Sommelier Fred Dame. And for any of you who've ever watched Somm 1 on Netflix, or I think it's basically streaming on everything now, and even on their own Somm TV, which is really good stuff. I recommend it. But he's basically, I think, the first master sommelier in the country, and kind of got the program started in the US, and has now, I think we're up to like 50 or so master sommeliers in the country. And he kind of spearheaded all that, first one in the US. And he's coming in soon to talk about the Daou family wines. I'm not sure that event's going to be happening anymore because of all this going on, but that's pretty much how we landed on this one. And my wife and I were just sitting at the bar, having some wine, and had a glass of this. And I was like, this is good. We should talk about this one.
Quick note, every time I watch Somm and I think about everything that goes into becoming a master somm, and I think about that test, I remind myself of, even though I know a little bit about wine, I don't know anything at all.
It's
in
insane.
Comparison to what those guys know. And, just the blind tasting in general. I mean, you put any of us who, have had a few wines, you put us in a room and you tell us to blind taste. I mean, that is a serious, serious skill. And these guys, what they can do on a blind tasting is absolutely unbelievable.
I mean, they get it down to the soil.
Yeah.
The regional soil
Yeah.
in various countries all over it's insane. It's such an impressive skill.
Absolutely.
I feel like it's a God-given type talent. As much as I would try to train my palate to be able to do that, I don't think I could ever ever do that. I mean, it's insane how pinpoint accurate they can get on nailing down where the wine is from. It's crazy.
I 100% agree that is, I mean, I think that is not just a trained skill set, but to some level it's a gift, you know, to have that ability to really distinguish the flavors and aromas enough to say this is from this region of France, this year. Just that depth of knowledge and the sensory ability to acknowledge all of that is phenomenal.
So what do you guys, on the first pass here, what are you guys smelling in these in this?
Well, we expect this as a cab versus the last one that we did. The last two that we did were both Pinots. We expect this to be a lot fuller of a wine. We expect this to have more depth of flavor. You can see it's already a lot darker in color. So we expect, you know, and that also has to do with the tannins, and say you can talk more about the tannins in a little bit. But we expect this to have a richer flavor and some richer aromas.
Yeah, I mean, nice legs on it. A lot of dark fruit on the nose. Cherry.
Yeah.
I'm actually getting some peppermint. Like when I go to the middle of the glass and like get down in there, like I'm getting like a little peppermint, which I don't normally get from cabs.
Yeah. Right in the middle. That's interesting. So if you missed the different the bottom, top, and middle segment, go check out our second episode, and Say goes into a little bit more about that.
Yeah, you get the standard like leather, dark chocolates.
Yeah.
A lot of tannins on that baby.
What are tannins? What are tannins, Brits?
That thing that makes your mouth feel like you're sucking on a cotton ball.
It just rips all the moisture out of your mouth, right?
Yeah. You get
that's
heavy. Heavy.
Yeah. We call that dryness, right? A little bit.
Anytime you have to go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's pretty big. It's not quite Napa big, but it's, you know, it's nice.
This, to me, like just initial first sip here, this is something that I would have around the house. This is something that I would definitely think about. You know, I would pull this out on a Tuesday or everybody's favorite weekly day, the Wine Wednesday. Like, definitely have this around and pop the cork on this whenever, wherever. Like, it's a solid cab for that price point, first sip.
Absolutely. For me, I like for a cab, particularly for this one. And as cabs go, it's still probably on the lighter end of cabs. You know, cabs can be huge, right? So this one isn't quite that big, but it still has a little bit of oomph to it. And mostly for cabs, for me, I like to have cabs with food. I like to eat sort of rich, you know, pastas, red sauce. Rich, you mentioned like a ragu. You know, a nice steak would go really great with this. Sarah's handing me these delicious Gibson's steaks that we're going to be enjoying.
Not just for the viewers. We are not sponsored. I mean, I wish we were, but we're not sponsored. But just like the La Crema, it's got a pretty short finish. You know, like after you swallow, and that initial rush of tannins rips that moisture out of your mouth, and you feel that saliva coming back in. The flavor's kind of gone. You know, it doesn't linger like a lot of the bigger cabs, which is kind of dangerous because
you just keep putting it down.
Yeah, you don't really realize that, you know, you're going through this bottle quickly. The finish is pretty quick.
This is an 18. Like, this is a young cab. You know, typically with a wine like this, you're sitting it down for a minute. You know, an 18 is still very young. It's got many years to develop. You know, I like to equate wine to art. the people that make this stuff are artists, and their masterpiece isn't fully realized 2 years in. Like, this is still really, really early. But what you're seeing here is like, it's showing a lot of signs of life, and that it is going to be a wine that, as it continues to age, is going to only get better. And again, at the price point, I hate going back to price, but it's all something we consider when we're buying anything. Like, at this price point, this is a really solid buy at $25.
Yeah.
So one of the apps I use for my wine cellar is called Cellar Tracker, and it's a free app for anyone that wants to download it. And you can, track all your wines if you want to start collecting wines or just want to have a couple on hand. But one of the cool features about this app is it gives you a target date of when to drink the wine. It gives you a little bit of a window. And this one says to drink between 2020 and 2024. So we're on the very front end of when it's telling you to drink it. Like you were saying, Brett, it's really, really young. I might pick up another bottle of this and just throw it on the shelf and open it up in a couple of years and see how different it actually tastes.
Mm-hmm. And if as you get into this, and if you're somebody who's just getting into wine, or if you're somebody that's been into wine, it's one of those things where you can join a wine club, and when you join a wine club, the winemaker or someone at the winery will give you recommendations on when and how to drink the wine. They'll go in and say, hey, based on this year's vintage, I would have a bottle in, the fall of this year, and then, sit the rest down for a year or two. And that's when you're really going to see how the wine develops. And I think that's the fun thing about wine and discovery, and, us being able to talk about all this stuff, is these things are continuously changing. We could drink the same bottle next year and have a completely different perspective on this wine.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I enjoy about drinking wine with you guys in particular, is that, none of us are particularly trained, right? We just enjoy wine. We enjoy the interaction that wine has with food, how, time affects it, how air affects it, how just letting it swish around in your glass for a few minutes will affect it. And being able to just kind of express that in a reasonable way, I think is one of the reasons why I really enjoy having wine with you guys, and frankly, why we're doing this in the first place.
Exactly.
Sarah and I bought a couple cases of some really nice Cab from Napa for our boys for the year that they were born. And so we just got
way too early for them to be drinking wine.
Well, the idea is that we drink it with them when they are of age. And so we just got Dylan's 2016. And Britt, to your point, exactly, like, we're gonna, for my birthday in a couple days, we're gonna pop one of those and drink it and enjoy it, right? And then, in 5 or 10 years, we'll drink another one, and then we'll just see how it evolves over time. And this is the first time that I've done this, particularly just buying a bunch of wine and sitting on it for literally years. I'm really excited to see how it turns out. I'm sure I'll be sharing a lot of it with you guys as well.
Well, it's also like
sure.
an investment too. You're sitting on it, but you could also say, hey, in 10 years, I'm going to sell a couple bottles too.
Yeah. Well, I bought 2 cases for each of the boys. So whether or not I sell one case and enjoy the other case, or whether or not we just drink it all, that's what's up in the air right now.
I definitely plan on doing the same for my kids. Their vintages are just starting to come out. So, Leo's is. But I do want to give a shout out to the person that I got that idea from, and that is Mr. Bob Luganbill, who opened up wine at Mike's wedding dinner rehearsal dinner the day before their wedding. And that's where I first saw someone do that. And I was like, that is a brilliant idea. I love that. It shows so much about, Bob's character, but I just love the idea of having that forethought and, sitting on something and presenting it to them when that wine is going to be at its peak, taste. Like I'm really excited to do that. I almost want to fast forward to that night, but I don't want to miss everything in between. It's like the Adam Sandler movie Click, you know?
Yeah.
So
Bob's got some great ones.
Bob Luganville, not only was Bob the guy that I also, because I was there with you, Seg, and that was sort of the starting point for me also. But Bob was the first person to really get me into wine back in college. He used to tailgate for the IU football games. And then, you know, instead of like, you know, he had the light beers and such, but he would always have like a little bit of wine. And I'd be like, oh, Bob, what are you drinking? He's like, oh, some wine. I'm like, well, tell me about it. And he's so excited and excitable about wine that it's just contagious. So he started bringing more and more wines down to these tailgates. And I just really enjoyed it. And I really enjoyed drinking wine with Bob. So that was not only the reason why we bought wine for our boys from their birth year, but also sort of the start of my wine journey.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Cheers to Bob.
Cheers to Bob.
Cheers to Bob.
Did we look at the alcohol on this? I don't know if we.
Oh, no, we have not looked at the
half.
alcohol. 14 and a half.
Still, you know, not a ton of burn on it. You know, it's, you know, as far as cabs, I've definitely had cabs with much higher alcohol content. So this is relatively smooth. And again, it's young. It's still going to develop. It's really on the early side of where it's going to be in a few years. But again,
so you call this
at the age, legs are nice, nose is nice, ton of tannins.
Would you call this medium bodied?
Yeah.
For a cab?
Mm-hmm.
I would just like to address the screaming children in the background. We're all stuck at home, all together. So if you hear some children, they're fine. They're fine. But
probably
we're all going through this together. You got to take a few minutes for your own headspace.
It just might mean they don't want to take a nap.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's accurate.
Well, like we said, this is Daou.
Yeah.
Cabernet Sauvignon, or as Mike Taylor, our tour manager, calls it, Cab Sav.
Yeah.
Cab Sav.
Daou Cab Sav.
Cab Sav.
You can get it at Kroger, any grocery store, any liquor store, wine shop will have this most likely. But again, this is a good, relatively inexpensive bottle of wine that you could bring to a dinner party, that you can host a dinner party with. You could bring over to your friend's house. If you're just going over for a game night, whatever it is, a good wine. Just like our last one, really easy to pick up. Always a good idea to have a couple of these on hand. So when you do get that last minute invite to someone's house, you know, you don't have to show up empty handed, and you have something nice to bring that everyone can enjoy, or you can enjoy the majority of, and leave everyone at the scraps.
And again, like, so, you know, a lot is said about what do you pair wine with, and you should only drink certain wines with certain foods. Like this cab is light enough that you could probably drink it with almost anything that you make. For me personally, because it is a cab, because it is a little bit heavier, I do want to I would want to pair it with something that's got some more richness to it. If that's a pasta, or if that's a steak, you know, a ragu. Those are the kind of things that I would think about pairing this with. But again, this is the kind of thing that, like say you said, you could show up at somebody's house with this as a nice bottle, not knowing what the dinner is going to be, and it would be fine.
So as we wrap this one up, should we kind of tease what's coming next week?
Yeah.
We have a little bit of a series coming, and we're going to switch it up and do it live, so we can have some actual interaction with people and not just, you know, blah, 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 the three of us. Until people stop watching.
Some actual intelligent wine interaction. Yeah, so we're fortunate enough to have a bunch of winemaker friends, and I don't think we want to give away who it's going to be quite yet, but one of them is going to join us next week. We're going to do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 3 different wines, all of them live with the winemaker.
at 6
gonna be
p.m.
fun.
Eastern, right? 6
Yeah.
p.m. Eastern each time.
6 p.m. Eastern, Monday, Wednesday, Friday next week. So join us for we'll call it happy hour.
Well, for me, it's early happy hour.
You work in the
You
music
live-
business.
Every hour
It's
is
all
happy
happy
hour. All right. Well,
It's been
cheers.
a blast.
Enjoy your wine. It's been fun talking to you guys.
All right.
Cheers.
Thanks, everybody.